What if the places where we learn and work weren't just, designed solely for productivity? What if they were actively built to make us healthier? To actually foster well-being at every turn?
It's a really profound question, isn't it? It challenges our sort of traditional ideas of what institutions are even responsible for. It asks us to look beyond just the immediate output, and really think about the whole human experience within those places.
That's such a crucial distinction, because today we're doing a deep dive into an incredibly ambitious project trying to do exactly that, the Healthy Waterloo initiative. This is a really bold vision to transform an entire university campus into Canada's healthiest place to live, learn, work, and thrive.
It's huge.
Yeah, and our mission in this deep dive is to unpack their ambitious goals, explore the really collaborative way they're going about it, and frankly, confront the very real challenges of redefining health within such a large system.
And we've got some fascinating material to work with, haven't we? We've pulled together their main brochure outlining the whole thing, detailed meeting notes from a key leadership discussion, a really insightful stakeholder map, and even a collection of visual notes and reflections from the participants themselves, sketches and ideas, that kind of thing.
Wow. Okay. So it's almost like having a seat at the table for this really transformative conversation.
Exactly.
So with that kind of access, let's start peeling back the layers. Where do we begin with this big vision?
Well, at its core, the Healthy Waterloo Initiative, HWI, is built on this, I guess you could say, revolutionary idea. Creating a campus where studying and working is actually good for your health.
That really flips the script, doesn't it?
It totally does. A key thing from the sources, they explicitly say, this vision imagines a future where health doesn't start at the doctor's door.
Right.
Instead, health starts in our classrooms, laboratories, residences, facilities, and across our campus ecosystem. That's not just tweaking things, it's a fundamental shift.
So it's moving health from being reactive, like going to the doctor when sick, to something proactive, embedded everywhere.
Precisely. It's about the environment itself promoting well-being.
So for our listeners then, what's the practical implication? Health starting in the classroom. How does thinking like that change how maybe you listening should think about your own workplace or learning space?
Well, it asks you to look at really every part of your daily environment as potentially impacting your health. Think about the air quality in your office, or, are there healthy food options easily available? Is there natural light? These aren't just nice to haves, but maybe core parts of a healthy life. As important as that doctor visit, potentially.
That sounds like a monumental task to implement. For something this big, who's behind it? Who are the architects driving this?
It really is a huge undertaking. The sources describe HWI as this broad network, faculty, staff, students, community leaders. It's campus-wide, and it brings together a really diverse group. You've got researchers, wellness champions, data scientists, HR folks, innovators, community change makers. It's a real mix.
That's quite a coalition. What does bringing all those different perspectives together signal about their core values?
Well, it definitely signals a commitment to what they call working together, thinking differently, and acting with purpose.
Right.
It shows this isn't just some top-down thing. It's meant to be deeply collaborative, but it also has strong leadership support, from multiple faculties like health and engineering, campus wellness, athletics, HR, planning, and importantly, community partners too.
You mentioned it's grounded in a collective impact model. For those of us maybe not familiar with that term, what does that mean in practice here?
Think of it like moving beyond everyone doing their own thing in isolation.
Okay.
It's about different groups agreeing on a shared goal, sharing their data, coordinating their actions, all pulling in the same direction. It's about synchronization.
And why Waterloo specifically? What makes them, uniquely suited to tackle something this ambitious?
Well, the initiative seems deeply inspired by Waterloo's sort of built-in strengths. Things like research, innovation, that entrepreneurial spirit they're known for.
Right, that's kind of their DNA.
Exactly. It makes them a natural fit for this kind of large-scale change-making project.
Okay, so that's the grand vision. Sounds amazing, very promising. But every big idea hits roadblocks, right? What are the sort of raw realities, the pressing issues that HWI has to solve?
Yeah, you have to ground it. And the sources are pretty clear here. They highlight critically that mental health challenges among both students and employees are rising.
Which isn't just a Waterloo issue, sadly.
No, absolutely not. It's a societal problem, but it hits campuses hard.
Right.
And it's not just about individual struggles either.
Okay, so what else? Are there deeper, maybe systemic things at play that they need to tackle? Things we might not immediately connect to campus well-being?
Definitely. The initiative points directly at systemic barriers and siloed supports limiting well-being right now.
Siloed supports, like different departments not talking to each other.
Exactly. Different services may be operating in isolation, no unified strategy. And that means they also lack, shared tools and data to even measure progress or coordinate properly. You can't really fix what you can't see clearly.
And the meeting notes, they give us some really specific insights into these challenges, right? From the people actually involved.
Yeah, they're quite revealing. For instance, there's this idea of, is it my job?
The not my problem mindset.
Right. Some faculty might feel that way about student wellness. So convincing everyone that this is interconnected with their roles, that's a hurdle.
I can imagine.
The notes also show how staff experiences can really differ, between academic faculty and other staff roles. And you have different union locals like CUPE and OPSEU representing various staff groups who are part of the mix but have unique viewpoints.
Makes sense.
And someone in the meeting even asked if the initiative clearly answers the so what question. Like, why does this matter beyond the university bubble for the whole community?
That's a fair question. And it seems the scope does go beyond the campus walls. The sources mention Paul Bourne, a community partner, highlighting broader challenges.
Yeah, that was crucial. He pointed to things like the university's reputation around well-being, especially for students. Even practical stuff like off-campus housing policies, specifically mentioning the Columbia Corridor area.
Wow.
It's pretty stark when you hear his point that something like 50,000 students aren't even included in the wider community's emergency preparedness plans.
That really shows a disconnect, doesn't it? The on-campus versus off-campus experience.
It really does. And it touches on that unspoken idea that students should just be happy at university, glossing over the real pressures. Clearly, bridging that gap is part of HWI's job.
Okay, so challenges laid bare. What's the plan? How do they actually move forward and make this happen? The big question is still, what if studying and working at Waterloo made you healthier?
Right. So their process, it's rooted in deep listening, collective action, and systems innovation. A really key first step is co-creating this Healthy Waterloo community plan.
Co-creating? How?
Through something called the Healthy Waterloo 100 Partners Workshop, bringing together 100 stakeholders from campus and the community.
The 100 people map we saw.
Exactly. And Paul Bourne is facilitating that. It's all about aligning goals, getting strategies straight, basically getting genuine buy-in from everyone.
Which is critical for something this collaborative.
Absolutely. And it's not just talk, it's about action. They plan to build a campus living lab.
A living lab. What does that mean in practice?
It sounds like a really hands-on approach to support campus-driven problem solving. They're talking concrete examples, embedding co-op students in relevant research.
Okay.
Having capstone project teams tackle real campus health challenges, offering catalyst grants for new wellness programs, even innovation pitch competitions run with their own problem lab and velocity incubator.
So using Waterloo's existing innovation structures to solve its own health challenges.
Precisely. It's about fostering real-time, practical solutions developed right there.
And to know if those solutions work, they'll need data, right? The sources mentioned tracking data to make decisions.
Yep. They're connecting engineering, math, data science students to this goal too. The plan includes developing tools for lasting impact, things like an integrated health and well-being dashboard.
Interesting.
And a governance framework to track what works, scale it up, and sustain it over time.
And then scale it beyond Waterloo.
That's the vision. It's this act locally, scale globally idea. The aim is for Canada's healthiest campus to eventually help create Canada's healthiest region and serve as a model for others.
That's incredibly ambitious. And the timeline reflects that too, right? Community plan by spring-summer 2025, living lab by fall 2025, and a full launch by winter 2026.
Yeah, it's moved fast.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting, I think. Defining healthier. When you aim for Canada's healthiest campus, what does that actually mean? The meeting notes showed this was a big discussion point.
It really was. There was a query, I think, from Heather in the notes about whether healthiest implies competition.
Right. Does that fit with wellness goals? Could it have unintended cascade effect?
Exactly. Does striving for healthiest create pressure or exclude people? But then on the flip side, someone named Andrea pointed out that using bold and ambitious language is important for external perception, attracting donations, recruitment.
So there's a tension there, internal nuance versus external messaging.
Definitely. And it's crystal clear from the discussion and especially those visual notes that health here isn't just about, say, fitness centers. The visual notes literally say healthy is different.
So what does that different really mean for them, beyond just a list of services?
It seems to be about fundamentally shifting the experience of being on campus. Health encompasses quality of life, access to affordable, good housing and food, chances for fun and entertainment, a real balance between work or study and life, psychological safety, and critically, a sense of belonging for everyone. Imagine every single interaction point on campus supporting your well-being.
That's a powerful image. And one point that really jumped out was about equity. Someone in the meeting likened equity to salt.
Yeah, that was a striking analogy, the idea that wellness is incredibly hard to achieve without equity.
Yeah.
It's the essential ingredient that makes everything else work.
And that connects to broader themes.
Absolutely. It flows naturally into ideas around incorporating an indigenous decolonization efforts, moving beyond just ticking diversity boxes to really understanding and addressing historical inequities, aiming for a place where everyone feels safe, can live authentically, and has sustainable access to resources. It's a very deep, challenging view of health.
But it sounds necessary. It also seems, though, that there isn't one single agreed-upon well-being framework fully operational across campus yet, even though they've adopted concepts like the Okanagan Charter.
That's right. The Okanagan Charter, which for listeners is a global framework for health-promoting universities, is there in principle, but operationalizing a comprehensive framework across everything. Well, that points to the ongoing work and the sheer complexity involved.
Yeah.
And you see some really provocative ideas surface in those visual notes, too. Like the need to potentially bulldoze the system, not just tweak it.
Bulldoze, wow. Relating to what?
Particularly around tough issues like unsafe student housing. And there were concrete suggestions, too, like adding wellness requirements into annual performance reviews, into staff training, embedding it structurally.
So a recognition that some changes need to be radical, not just incremental.
Exactly. Systemic upheaval, almost.
So bringing all these threads together, how does this foster a true community of caring? Paul Bourne from the Tamarack Institute, he had an interesting insight about the power of just gathering people.
Yeah, that was fascinating. His point was that change starts happening simply by bringing diverse people together, the exposure to new ideas, to each other's perspectives, to shared concerns. That process itself is transformative.
And he also talked about inside-outside transformation.
Right, a really crucial concept. His point was that while the university environment obviously impacts student health, a closed system, like a university on its own, often struggles to change without some kind of external pressure or influence.
That makes you think about where leverage for change really comes from in any big organization.
It really does.
Right.
He also offered some practical advice on avoiding common failures.
Like what?
Like avoiding the one-year failure point.
Sure.
Making sure things like, say, a campus fun run aren't just one-off events, but are part of a sustained, integrated strategy.
Right. Continuity is key.
And also dealing proactively with leaders who might be protecting their turf. Not everyone jumps on board immediately.
The early adopter problem.
Exactly. But the goal, he suggested, is to eventually get a system with a very high acceptance rate. And the way to do that is by having the whole system present in the room, engaged from the beginning. Strategic, inclusive persistence.
That makes sense. And connecting back to that community feeling, the visual notes had that powerful line, warriors take care of warriors.
Yeah, and we are all warriors. It really drives home that sense of collective responsibility for each other's well-being.
It reinforces that goal of empowering students, making sure they feel seen, supported, and healthy, right? With a focus on access and equity.
Absolutely. And that 100 People Who Care stakeholder map really shows the breadth of engagement needed. Staff associations, unions, students, faculty, community groups, everyone.
It kind of leaves you pondering, doesn't it? What's the one simple thing, as they put it, or the unusual suspect that could unlock wider change? Maybe even in our own workplaces or communities.
It's a great question to reflect on.
So, as we start to wrap up this deep dive, let's circle back to Waterloo itself. Why are they uniquely positioned for this? The sources describe them as built to be different.
Yeah, and their entrepreneurial culture is definitely a huge part of that. It fosters innovation. The notes even cheekily suggest it helps health students sell their stuff, meaning apply practical, maybe even market-driven thinking to well-being solutions.
Okay. And that ties into their focus on experience-rich education, too.
For sure. The growth of their capstone program, wanting to expand it beyond just engineering. that provides this amazing built-in lab for tackling real-world problems right there on campus.
Using students to help solve campus issues.
Right. Combine that with their known strength in world-changing research, they clearly have the brainpower. And that lead globally, act locally principle really sums up their ambition to make an impact far beyond Waterloo region.
The visual and written notes also paint a really nice picture of the kind of community they aspire to be.
Yeah, lots of descriptions like a community that is connected, supportive, caring, where people are individually diverse, united together, where they embrace differences and feel happy, committed, curious, creative, courageous.
Sounds ideal. And physical spaces are part of that too.
Definitely. The notes talk about wanting UW to be a joyful, curious, active place for learning, with plenty of outside spaces, trees, paths, encouraging play, joy, active, safe, united, working together.
And that interesting observation about Waterloo Park.
Right, that visual note asking, where are the students? At the nearby park, it implies maybe there's potential to better leverage existing community assets for well-being too. Connect the campus to its surroundings more.
So we've really dug into the ambitious vision of the Healthy Waterloo initiative. We've explored the nuances of what healthiest campus could even mean, the significant challenges of changing a whole system, and the very collaborative, multi-pronged strategies they're putting in place.
It truly is a living laboratory, not just for academic research, but for the well-being of its entire community.
Right.
It's fascinating to watch unfold.
Absolutely. And as we consider what it takes to build a truly healthy campus, or even a healthy workplace or community, here's something to think about. If that old saying is true, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. What small, everyday actions could you, listening right now, take in your own environment, your classroom, your office, your neighborhood, to actively start cultivating a culture of well-being, even before some grand strategy is rolled out?
That's a powerful thought to end on. What can each of us do right now